We are learning Mishnah Kesubos, Perek Ches, chapter 8. We started Mishnah Vav yesterday. We'll read through the beginning quickly, and then we'll get to the part the new part for today. So again, Perek Ches, chapter 8, Mishnah Vav, Mishnah 6. Shemeres Yabam, a woman who is waiting for Yibam. Her husband died. She now fell to Yibam to her brother-in-law. It's before the Yibam Chalitza has been done. Shenaf Le'el Nechasim, that she inherited property at that point of time. Both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree that in that situation, she has every right to go ahead and sell or give away the property, and what she does stands. Okay? So that's the first part of the Mishnah. Now again, we need to bear in mind, we're talking about now a Shemeres Yavim. She has what's called Zika. To her brother-in-law, she has a Yibum bond, a type of marriage bond. But from the first half of the Mishnah, we see that bond is not the same thing like Erisin. Because in the Mishnah before, by Erisin, when she inherited during Erisin, Beis Shammai said she's not allowed to, Beis Hillel says she's not allowed to sell. So clearly, according to Beis Hillel, according to everyone in some degree, the Yibum bond is not the same thing like an Erisin. Okay, so that's the first part of the Mishnah. Now, the halacha is that when a woman gets married and she gets a ksuba, in the ksuba it says that she gets, if she's a basula, she gets 200 zuz. If she's not a basula, she gets 100 zuz. If the husband wants to, he can add more money to the ksuba. And then there's also the part of the ksuba that we call nechstei tzayin barzal, which means that if she brings any kind of property or any objects into her marriage, she can make it with the husband, that basically she's giving it to him in the sense that he can do anything that he wants with it. But at the end of the day, if in case he dies or he divorces her, he's got to return to her the original value of what she brought in. That's the deal. She brings in things, whatever it may be, and she says to him, "This is yours, but you have to go ahead and get. If we get divorced or you die, I get the original value." That's a standard part of the ksuba, and they're a standard part of the ksuba of the Mishnah. All right. Now, the difference between the point here is like this: if let's say when he divorces her, these objects or these property, whatever it was, went down in price, he's got to now he takes the loss because he made up during the marriage, part of the ksuba deal, that he has to make sure that if they get divorced, that she gets that amount of that amount of value back. If let's say it goes up in price, then all he has to give her is the original value, and he gains. And this is a standard part of the ksuba of the Mishnah. Okay, so the ksuba contains the money given to her if he dies or if he divorces her, and what we just said, we also know when she gets married, there's something else that's not mentioned in the ksuba, and that is that if she brings in property to the marriage that she wants to keep, that the halacha is she is the owner of the principal, while he gets the usage of it, and that's called nechsei malug. Now, in all those situations, if she dies before he dies, what happens to her ksuba? What happens to the nechsei malug? What happens to all the properties? He gets it, which means he doesn't have to pay any kind of ksuba and all those property, and he doesn't have to pay back the value of the property that she brought in that they made up. He has to give her, and the nechsei malug, those properties that she kept in her usage from, he now inherits it. That's what happens when a woman who was married, full-fledged married to a man after nisuin, after chuppah, that's what happens to the ksuba and all the properties. Now the question is, if let's say this all happened while she was in Arusa, before chuppah, she was in Arusa, and then she died first. Her father gets everything. Nothing goes to her aris. Nothing goes to her husband, because he never got any rights yet. Never got any rights. So those properties would go to whoever inherits her. Now the question is, this woman, she is in a state of zika. She is in a state of a yibam to her brother-in-law, and then she dies. So what happens to all those things? Now we have to remember that all those things were things that she had by her first husband by the deceased brother. If her brother-in-law does yibum on her, he takes over his whole estate. There is and the ksuba that has to be paid to this woman is the original ksuba, in case there's a ksuba, not a new ksuba. If let's say right, so everything is basically being carried over from her first husband. All the property rights and all the obligations to the ksuba are all carried over from the first husband. She doesn't get anything yet because there may be yibum. And if there's yibum, then the brother who does yibum takes over for his brother, and things just continue on. In this case, what happened? She died. And we have the ksuba from the first brother. We have the properties. What happens to them? Who gets them? Does her heirs get them, like her father who inherits her, or her brothers if she has no father, or if she has children from a different marriage? Do they inherit? Do they inherit all these things, or maybe her brother-in-law, the yavam, the one who she's connected to for marriage, maybe he inherits it. Maybe we see him possibly as actually a full-fledged husband because of the yibum connection. That's the discussion here. The discussion is what's going to happen to all these things. The ksuba obligations, the property that belonged to her, they had usage from, that when a woman dies, her husband inherits it all, or he keeps it, he inherits it. What happens now when she's waiting for yibum and she dies? Who gets all those things? That's the Gemara's question. Mesa, she died. What do they do with her ksuba? Which means, as we said before, the money that's promised to her that she gets, the 100 and 200 zuz that she gets, and the nechsei tzayin barzel, the money that he said, the value that he said the original value that he has to return to her if the marriage gets terminated from his part, and the properties that go in and out with her, meaning the properties that she owns, that she brings in, he has usage, and if he divorces her, he dies, she takes it back. What happens with all that? Okay? Beis Shammai say, Yachlaku Yarshei Habal im Yarshei Ha'av. Beis Shammai say that the heirs of the husband and the heirs of the father will divide it. Will divide what? So right now, Beis Shammai is referring to the case of the last thing mentioned, Nechasim HaNechnasim Vayitzin Ima, the properties that go in and out with her, what we call the Nichsei Malug, the properties that she still owns, but he has usage of. So Beis Shammai say, if she dies, it gets divided amongst the heirs of the husband, meaning the brother or any other brother that may be around, Im Yarshei Ha'av, I shouldn't say that. The husband, the brother of the husband who died, that's the Yarshei Habal, the heirs of the husband, Im Yarshei Ha'av, with the heirs of the father, meaning they split it. Her heirs and his heirs split it. The brother who she was connected to Yibum for, he gets half of those properties, and her family gets half of those properties. Why? Why are we splitting it half and half? So the answer is, according to Beis Shammai say like this. The first step is like this. The situation is that she has a Yibum bond to him, right? He didn't do Yibum yet. He's not fully married to her. He didn't do Yibum, so they're not fully married. But they're in a state of connection for marriage. So Beis Shammai actually have a suffix. They have a doubt. That state between this woman and her brother-in-law, is it actually considered as if they're fully married or not? That's no. Beis Shammai's suffix. That's his doubt. Beis Shammai say that maybe we do look at it like that. Maybe this bond of Yibum, even though at the end of the day she died before anything was done, and he could have done chalitza, it doesn't matter. According to Beis Shammai has a doubt. Perhaps we do say that this Yibum bond is considered like they were fully married, and therefore he inherits those properties. But maybe not. Maybe they're not like Yibum bond. And if they're not like Yibum bond, then we say, until she's fully married to the guy, that's the only time that the guy can go ahead and inherit her. And since he was not fully married to her, therefore, and she dies, who gets those properties? Her heirs, her father, her brothers. And therefore, as Beis Shammai says, since there is a doubt, therefore, what do you do at the end? They divide it. They split it. Because there's a doubt. So that is what Beis Shammai say. Right now, Beis Shammai's words are being directed solely to the last case of the Nichsei Malug. the properties that she owned, but he has usage. Beis Shammai say if in a state, if when she was connected for Yibam, that's when she dies, they divide up the property between them because of the fact that he has a doubt. Is the state of Zika, is the state of a Yibam bond considered like a full marriage or not? If it's a full marriage, then it's the brother who inherits it. If it's not a full marriage, then it's not the brother who then it's her heirs who get it because they were never married. He never had any rights. Okay, that's Beis Shammai. But there's one question that we still have to deal with Beis Shammai.
Chalitza.
I told you already, it doesn't make a difference. He has the Yibam bond, and there, according to Beis Shammai, the point is there was no Chalitza done yet. The Chalitza wasn't done when she died. They had the connection, and therefore, according to Beis Shammai, there's the possibility of saying that they are considered regarding this like being fully married. Okay? Now, the question is like this. The question is, Beis Shammai are saying that we have at least a doubt that the Yavim, that the brother that she's connected to, may be considered fully married. But the beginning of the Mishnah said that when this woman, who was, again, connected to Yibam for the brother, and she inherited properties, everybody said she can sell it. But if it's possible to say, but if we have a doubt that perhaps it's considered as if he's already married to her, and if he was already married to her and she inherited the properties, she wouldn't just be able to go ahead and sell it. So why did the Mishnah say that she could? We know that if a woman goes ahead and she inherits properties after she is married, she can't just go ahead and give it away. She can't do that. Now, so the question is, if Beis Shammai have a doubt, if they say perhaps we do have to look at the woman who is connected to her brother-in-law as if they are married, which is why if she dies first, he's going to at least partially inherit those properties. So if we have a doubt that perhaps he's like a husband, then why in the case in the beginning of the Mishnah, when she inherits something in this state of connected to her brother-in-law, why does the Mishnah say in the beginning she could go ahead and sell it? If there's a doubt that maybe she's married to this, considered she's married to this guy, how could she sell it? So the answer that's given is the following. And this is something that we learned a while ago in Yavamis. And that is that although according to Torah law, Yibam is done by the brother-in-law cohabiting with her, that makes the marriage. The Rabbanan said that you have to do a kedushin beforehand. It's called maimer. You have to do midrabanan. The brother-in-law who's going to do Yibam has to do an act of kedushin on her, just like by a regular marriage. You do kedushin and then you're doing the suin, then you complete the marriage. By Yibam, the Torah doesn't mandate that, but the Chachamim said that's what you have to do. You have to do a maimer, you have to do a kedushin, plus, and then you cohabit. That completes that does the Yibam. So therefore, the point is like the answer that's given is like this. In the beginning of the Mishnah, when it seems that in this connection to Yibam, and she inherited something that her brother-in-law has no rights to the land at all, she could just give it away without any problem. That's before he did Maimer on her. That's before he did the Kedushin on her. That's when we say he has no rights. Then at that point, for sure, he's not. There's no question of him being considered a husband, and she can give it away. This part of the Mishnah, we're discussing when she died, means she died after Maimer was done. The Maimer was done, but the cohabitation, the full Yibam wasn't done. This is the question now. Maimer was done. There's the Yibam bond. Maimer was done. The Kedushin was done, and then she died. That is where Beis Shammai say there's a doubt that perhaps now the brother-in-law is considered like he's married to her. And therefore, only then we have that doubt. And at that point, we say, perhaps he was considered like a full-fledged husband regarding these properties. And since we have a doubt whether yes or no, at the end when she dies, the heirs of the husband, which in this case is the brother who did Maimer, is going to do Yibam, plus her heirs, which are called the Yarashei Av, the heirs of the father, who would have inherited her, and if he's gone, her brothers inherit her, they're going to divide it up. Okay, we will continue this Mishnah next time.
You're leaving us
okay, I'm leaving you hanging. Yep. Now, okay, now, the next, we're talking about, there's this perspective shidduch going on back and forth, and the Chofetz Chaim has been discussing if he knows something about the boy that the girl's family doesn't know, if he knows something about the girl and her family that the boy doesn't know, what are you allowed to say? But this is all, as has been said, they've been talking. The shidduch wasn't made yet. They're in the process of discussing it. Now the Chofetz Chaim says, and what if the shidduch was already actually made? They made the shidduch, they made the agreement to get married. And you know that the girl's father is going to trick him. He is not telling the truth about the dowry or about support. Totally bazet, depends like this. If he knows the chassan will only hear out what he says for the purposes of protecting himself, which means you're letting him know so that he'll find a way of finding a way not to get cheated. Okay. And the chassan will not do anything that he can, that halacha that the law doesn't allow him to do. Then you're allowed to go ahead and you are allowed to let him know. Because again, if he's not taking it, he's not going to break off the shidduch. He's doing it to protect himself. He's only going to do something to protect himself from being cheated. And we're talking about here making a shidduch where I'm assuming we're talking about with a tnoyim. There's a real agreement, a very strong agreement here to go through the marriage. So again, if you see that he's only going to he's not going to just break it off because of what you said. He wouldn't be allowed to do that. There's not enough basis for that, but because you're saying it. But he'll take it in order to protect himself so as not to be cheated. And you know that the chassan is not going to do more than what the halach allows him to do. Then you're allowed to tell it to him. Just as he says that there are a number of conditions that we said before that have to be kept to be able to do this. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you very much.